So we are continuing on with the cat. I've extended the model a bit by adding on a hind leg. The important thing with modeling in this way is to be aware that just because something makes sense and looks okay when it's smoothed doesn't necessarily mean that it will do in the simplified version, and it needs to make sense in both to actually work well as a model. So time spent going around tweaking, moving, seeing is it looking okay from the different angles. You need to do plenty of that. I'm just looking at that hind quarter there, so that wouldn't come back behind the tail point, so I need to bring that back to about there. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then is to take out head and tail, and in order to do that we need new geometry. So I'm going to select these edges and I want to connect them again. Now I can go right click and go connect and put in one connect, and that'll do me. That gives me some geometry I can extrude out a head with. Likewise for a tail I need to make some little extra adjustments. Let's just pull this in here a bit like that. So the tail is going to come up and out here like that. So let's use an extrude along spline option here. So I'm going to draw a spline in the front viewport, get a nice curve. Okay, that's going to be the spline I want to extrude along. Now here's where an issue might arise, where I want to extrude a polygon. So I want to extrude this polygon. And now if I do it from here, I'm going to end up with a very thick, broad tail. So let's just try that. If I go extrude along spline, pick my spline, getting something like that. I can adjust the spline, so I want to taper it in. Okay, so I'm getting some sort of artifacts that I don't particularly want, but also I'm ending up with a very thick, detailed tail. So one way of dealing with that and of dealing with the face would be to go and put an edit poly modifier above the symmetry, so we'll no longer be working in symmetry at this stage. So let's put an edit poly modifier above, and I'm going to look at the polygons. So now I've got those two polygons there. I'm going to just inset those two together. Oops. Inset. Something like that. Scale. Move. So I can position this and have it ready to form the base of the tail. Okay, so now with those polygons together, let's first of all just use the make planar button and extrude along spline, pick spline as that, and I can do any tapering I want to. So in this case the tapering isn't quite working as I want, so I'm just going to leave the tapering off and So now I've got a tail, I can go and start shaping it a little bit. Let's take the verts there. I'm using soft selection. Reduce the fall off. I can do some scaling. I'm just going to scale it on one axis and then the other. So soft selection is very good for this kind of thing. Okay, so Alt S gets us the cat's tail, and we want to adjust how it thickens. And that'll do us. Next we want to get the cat's head underway, so I'm going to stop the tutorial now and do that next.